I finally figured out how to start my live session. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Blake. I am a empowerment and transformation coach that helps connect those on a spiritual journey to answer the questions to life that they didn't even know they had. And I'm also, this is the first time I've actually done a YouTube live. And I had scheduled it and everything. I wanted to promote it and kind of go through that experience. And once I got to this point when the live was ready, I didn't even know how to join it. So that was a fun little experiment. I figured it out. It's kind of cool. One of the things that I actually wanted to do, I had created a schedule for this live before. And I had planned on being a little bit fancier. I was going to use some streaming software, and I was going to try to have like music at the beginning in the waiting room and do multiple cuts and everything. And unfortunately, I am just not ready for that yet. There was a lot going on with getting that to work because I use my camera as my main, or I use my phone as my main camera. And so because of that, I had to make that work on the computer, I had to use Wi-Fi, and the microphone that I use for my phone just doesn't all kind of mesh correctly. So because of that, it was kind of a little bit of a shit show. And I just kind of decided, you know what, I'm just going to do it on my mobile for the first time because I'm just new to this anyway, and it's challenging enough. So after that, I think I feel pretty good about this. I'm glad for the two people we have on already. Thank you for joining. I think I'm one of them, so thank you for the other person that's on. Gloria, thank you for being on, Gloria. And so today I'm going to be talking about kind of the end of January, end of my dry fast. And the end of my dry January. Different than a dry fast. I have a weird lighting issue here because I kind of anticipated that I'd have a little bit more to work with. This room just does not give me a lot of light. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Actually, in my, it's just on my phone, huh? I'm looking at the preview here, and it looks better. Maybe if I throw some white on the screen like this, I think that's gonna make it work. Let me just throw this over here, give myself a little bit more white to work with. I'm pretty pasty, so it should work out pretty well. Cool. I want to be able to see the chat as people come in. And good. So yeah, that looks pretty good. It definitely looks so different from what I'm seeing on here than what I actually see in the viewer there. So anyway, dry January. Dry January is abstaining from alcohol. I think some people may know it. I don't know how big it is outside. I don't even know if it's that big in general, to be honest with you. I don't know how many people have maybe heard of Dry January, but essentially it's just kind of a way at the beginning of the year for you to kind of reflect on your relationship with alcohol, your relationship with just vices in general. And I've done, Joe Rogan did a podcast, did a Sober October thing every year, and that was like one of the first times I've seen somebody kind of publicly coming out about doing some kind of sobriety, not necessarily like a challenge, but just kind of a radical thing, because our society is so caught up in the idea of drinking being socially acceptable. And I do believe that people have a relationship with just casual drinking as being okay. I think that there's maybe even an argument where people say, you know, if they're doing everything else in their life right, what's the big deal to have a drink occasionally? And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I know that I decided to do, I like to look forward to opportunities in my life where things are aligning, where I feel like taking a break from things that I do without thinking will give me new insight into how my relationship with those things are. Like, why am I inclined to drink? Why am I inclined to reach for a cigarette? Or why am I inclined to reach for cannabis? And when it comes to my relationship with these things, we do these things habitually without any real understanding of the why, other than I've worked really hard, I've earned this, I deserve this, it's my time to, unwind, I want to have fun. And I think that those are probably things that are easy to kind of correlate, because what we're really trying to do is we're trying to solve the boredom. We're trying to find a way to kind of numb the moment, and we've built ourselves around this idea that the only way we can have fun, the only way we can be happy is if when we're socializing, especially because it's a social thing. If we're spending time with people, the only way we can really have fun and we can really be ourselves is once we're drinking. And it's unfortunate about this, because I know that there's a lot of things that we do all the time, especially when we were young. It was so easy to have fun. It was so easy to find things to do that we enjoyed. It was pretty trivial. And there was a lot more moments where we had a little bit more time to reflect and just kind of be in our own space and everything. And as we get older and the world kind of lose our innocence, I guess, and the world kind of starts to become a little bit more darker and a little bit more unforgiving about our feelings and kind of our desires and our dreams. So it can make sense why we would really want to have kind of an escape to constantly reach for. Now, what's really interesting about drinking is that there's some people that really get caught up in it because they're using it to numb so many wounds in their lives and so many things that they're trying to escape from, that they're just constantly engulfed in it as a kind of an identity even. And it becomes very obvious that there's a problem. There's an impact. There's negative outcomes that are associated with that experience. So it's very obvious that it's ruining relationships, it's ruining their purpose, and it's ruining themselves. And so it becomes so clear that that's an issue. But when you drink casually, it's a little different, because you do have it under control, and you're only drinking, like if you just drink one drink a night, it's pretty tame in terms of the level of complications it adds to you. Maybe you can still go to sleep, you can still get up in the morning and still work, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that what is the thing that if you are on a routine like that, I find that sometimes it's so hard to just break that momentum. It's kind of like this thing of like, well, now what do I do? Because you're in such a routine of having that state of intoxication come up. And the big thing that I'm realizing that it always comes down to is I don't want to feel bored. I don't want to feel this sense of boredom and that I don't know what to do anymore. And I wish I had my setup. There's a movie, Ricky Bobby. I don't know if anybody's seen it, with Will Ferrell. It's a goofy little movie. There's this one scene. I really wish I could show the clip. He's like he's on camera and he doesn't know how to like talk to the camera, and he just keeps talking like this, like and then he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. And he just keeps bringing his hands up because he doesn't know what to do with his hands. When I first did like a sober month, that's kind of how I described the feeling, because I'd go out with people and everything, and they would be drinking and smoking and all these things, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And it was just like, I don't know what to do. I guess I just keep sitting here and just have a conversation like a person. And so I think that that's the reason why a lot of people feel that they just kind of participate in the activities as it is. And the first few times before January, before I started dedicating a month to this, I'd experiment with like maybe going out occasionally on a night and just say, this night I'm not going to drink. And it was drastically different, because a lot of the people and relationships that you have in those capacities and the places you go, they kind of suck. They're not that cool of a place. Some of the people aren't those cool of people, but when you're drinking with them, everything's great. Everybody's awesome. Everything you're doing is awesome. Ultimately, it just cuts through the boredom. So this month, at the beginning of the year, it seemed kind of symbolic to take that moment to just say, I'm going to take this out of my life. One of the things that I'm also not proud of is I have in and out, it's a weird habit that I pick up and put down, is I enjoy smoking. And I don't know that anybody's ever said that, but I do enjoy smoking. I like the act of smoking and doing it, but it makes me feel terrible because it is terrible. And not encourage anybody to smoke, but I would roll my own cigarettes, and I enjoy the process of going through that ceremony and that practice, and then and smoking them. And I wanted to address that as well. So not only did I do dry January, but I also quit smoking, and I also quit cannabis. And I would say that drinking has never been a big thing for me. I've never done a lot of, like, I mean, when I was younger, maybe I drank a lot in certain situations, but it's never been that thing that I really wanted to do. For me, it's usually come down to cannabis, because with cannabis, it was something that I felt I could still express my artistic side, and I could still function. I could still do whatever it is I needed to do. I could still operate in a professional manner, get my work done, and accomplish the things and responsibilities I had by still smoking cannabis. But over time, I realized I was simply smoking cannabis because I didn't know what else to do. And over the past few months, if you've been watching my YouTube channel, you know that I'm working at becoming a certified spiritual coach, specifically with empowerment and transformation. And I've been making a lot of content around this, and I, realized pretty early in that process is that, I can't just get on camera and smoke. I can't smoke cannabis and then just get on camera. Like, I can't relate to people logically and emotionally, and I can't just be available 100% if that's something that I can't differentiate when I want to do it. It's just something that's kind of like engulfed within my identity, because I've done it for so long, and it's worked for me for so long, and it's kept me away from harder drugs and drinking a lot and just being alone in myself. There's just so many things about it that really complemented me and my lifestyle, and again, there's a subculture kind of identity around it, right? So I enjoyed that part of it too. So that's probably the hardest thing for me to take a step back from, because it's so ingrained in that. Luckily, I had already started this in August. I went through kind of a run for about 2 months, a little over 2 months, and I had a good run with it, but I kind of got back into old habits. Stress came out. I started getting, second guessing myself and where I was at. So when January came around, it was like, dry January sounds good. I've never done it in January at the beginning of the year, but it makes sense. And with the way that I was working and how everything was going and where I wanted to be, it just made so much sense to kind of do that. So the reason I've started, the theme of kind of why I wanted to do this live, is that it felt like a good time, because here we are on the 31st. We made it through the first month. Congratulations to 2024, everybody here. We only have 11 more to go, and we have the shortest month coming up. So even though we're at the end of dry January, I think some people may even think, well, now that you're at the end of dry January, you can celebrate that you've made it through a month, because now it's February, no longer January coming up. But I'm doing things a little differently. If you know from the title, I've made the choice it was like in the beginning of the year, I made the choice to return to Mother Aya, speaking of ayahuasca, which if you don't know, is a plant medicine that is indigenous to the Amazon jungle. And I live in South America, in Medellin, Colombia. And so I'm pretty close to the Amazon, but I'm not going that far south. But they do facilitate these ceremonies nearby and just outside of Medellin, in a town called Santa Elena. And I've actually been to this particular place that facilitates this ceremony, and I'm doing a return to that same place. It was about 2 years ago that I went to that same site, and I had an amazing time. It's a 5-day retreat, and we're gonna drink. I actually think last time I went, it was a 5-day retreat. We had 4 ceremonies where we drank. This one we're gonna drink, I think 5 times over the span of 5 days. So it may even be more. It could be the same thing, I'm not sure. But so anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to tell a little bit more about what ayahuasca is and kind of the experience of that, but I don't want to get into that just yet. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is it was a difficult moment for me to actually decide if I wanted to go on this trip, because an ayahuasca ceremony is pretty expensive. You spend about $1,000, and it's a all-inclusive thing. You're going to be there for like a whole week. But the thing is that in order for this medicine to work efficiently, there's a special diet that you need to partake in. And it's kind of, I guess it's not dependent on the individual really, but they give you some loose kind of ideas, which is you want to avoid any kind of psychedelics like LSD or mushrooms a week in advance, maybe even more. And then they want you to, at least 2 days before you partake in the medicine, to avoid certain things. But the longer you can abstain from it before, the better, because it becomes a very therapeutic kind of process to build up to. So the things that they recommend, Phyllis, I'm about to actually talk about sugar. So one of the things that they mention that you want to cut out is you want to cut out red meat, which is tricky for me because I really like my steaks or my solomito in Colombia. And I also have to, or they want you to try to cut as much sugar as you can from your diet. Anything processed, you would want that out. Dairy, I'm pretty sure I need to avoid dairy. I'm gonna cut that out too. Caffeine, I'm gonna cut out. And I'm gonna keep going with my typical thing. I'm not gonna drink any more alcohol now that's February. I'm not gonna smoke. I'm not gonna consume cannabis, nicotine, anything like that. And so then with the protocol with the ayahuasca, you want to cut out red meat, dairy, sugar, no sex, no orgasm, nothing that you're going to do where you're going to let out any of your natural energy and power that you want to preserve and protect. Now, when you go into this process, I'm going to actually retain starting tonight from all these things leading up. I'm going on the 5th, so I have 5 days before I begin this adventure, and I'll be there for 5 days. So it's kind of a little bit about the Aya prep. I kind of missed one of the topics I want to talk about, which kind of connects a little bit this together, which is when I started doing the dry this dry January, and I abstained from alcohol. I also recognized once I kind of got over a little bit of the cravings and the cultural things that I was giving up, the habits and the social things I was giving up, I started recognizing and paying more attention. Instead of feeling guilty and bad about it, I started paying attention to the way that things affect me. And I was watching some other YouTuber who went into this long video series about, it was definitely geared towards more Gen Z, younger generation, where but it works for my millennial generation too. But they were trying to focus on limiting phone usage. And of course, I see the irony as I'm talking to you on a phone right now. But one of the premises is the fact that with content creation, in the social media, we've commoditized attention. And the new generation is constantly putting their attention into the phone and constantly putting their attention into these devices. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon, because the way that these all operate is by putting ads and essentially buying your eyes, your focus. And it's really fascinating to understand it that way, because the adverse of that is to actually create content and profit off of that. So that's kind of in my space right now. And my space right now is that I'm trying to build a business. I'm trying to create this coaching. I'm trying to create an audience. I'm trying to connect with people and help people. And to do that, I have to be on my phone. So when it comes for things like YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, I'm even going to be getting into TikTok soon. I didn't know that I'd ever be doing that, but I am. And to getting into these devices and everything, you're going to have to constantly view them. But they are also tricky, because if you don't have a lot of intent, you don't come out of it with an intent, a proper intent or a proper goal, you can get sucked into this rabbit hole. you can fall prey to the system that it is that wants you to consume and consume and consume. So to combat that, I found this one YouTuber who talked about trying to, one, be aware of how much time you're spending. You should be auditing how much time you're spending on your phone. Most, like the average Gen Z is spending like somewhere around 8 to 9 hours a day on their phone, and that's way too much time, because it barely gives you enough time to really get anything else done and accomplish building yourself into what you want to be, and building something that you're proud of, and building your future, and so many other things, because there's so many things that we can do with the internet. There's so many things that we can accomplish on here, and it's honestly, like, once you actually get momentum and you actually do something, it's not that hard, right? There's a talent and a gift that you have, and once you have that, you're very clear on what that talent and gift is, and you find an audience that's willing to pay you for it, it just happens. And that's just kind of an overglossing, it's easier said than done kind of thing, because you still have to put in the work, you still have to develop the skill, you still have to enrich the skill, and you still have to present it, and you have to get over all this other shit that you didn't think that you would need to get over in order to get there, right? So, to my point about phone usage is that I audited my usage, and it wasn't that bad. Despite the fact that I'm using my phone so much, it really wasn't that bad. However, I do find that I get in this habit or this routine of checking my phone, and I noticed one of the tips that they gave me that really has helped is I took the color off my phone. Right now, I keep looking at the preview I have, and it looks a lot better, but this is completely in black and white that I'm looking at right now, because I put my phone in grayscale. Because the way that colors are used in marketing and everything, it's all designed, all these apps are designed with that in mind. They know that you're coming on and that you're influenced by bright colors, reds that like kind of indicate, signs of passion. And there's just all these things that we're drawn to naturally, and they simulate that with colors and the accents to bring our attention to these resources. So I became aware of that. I also had a lot of notifications. Like every time I'd open my phone, I'd have just my whole top of my screen would just be filled with little indicators. And I honestly didn't care, because a lot of it I didn't even need to know. There were some apps that were to certain websites that for whatever reason got notifications turned on. And so I just got in the habit of ignoring it. So it was never even something I felt that distracted me. But I went through, I audited, I turned off all the notifications, and an amazing thing happened. Just from doing those two things, just from turning off notifications and turning on the grayscale, I felt like something in my brain, in my mind, finally just relaxed. I just felt so much peace inside from after doing that. And it became very apparent that there is this clutter that I'm allowing in. And it's easy to let those things kind of monopolize your attention, right? Because we don't want to be bored. We're terrified of being bored. And if it's not our phone, it's something else. If it's not our phone, if it's not alcohol, if it's not drugs, it turns into sex, it turns into food, and in some places it can even turn into something positive like exercise. It can become abusive. But the thing is that we're trying to fill this boredom, because we do have negative things that come up that we want to work on, that we want to address. There's things that come up that we want to build, that we want to do, that we want to things that we want to change about ourselves and improve on ourselves, because I feel that there is this future version of ourselves, this future identity that's constantly knocking at the door and reminding you that it's waiting for you, that it's there. And it's really hard sometimes to accept that it's there, because it involves, changing your job, changing your whole everything, everything you've been doing. It may involve something you didn't even go to school for, and you still have student loans, you still have all this stuff. It's really challenging. And a lot of times it's not something that we're really ready to take up our time. So it becomes easier. We'll just have a drink. We'll just watch some Netflix. We'll smoke a cigarette. We'll just sit back and not worry about that today, you know? And that turns into 2 days, that turns into a week, that turns into a year, and that turns into a decade. And then before you know it, we're doing the same thing we've been doing that whole time, because we know that these things, that the dopamine that we get from the phone and these notifications, even if they're very subtle, like even turning off all those little notifications, I could feel the presence of that dopamine not being like bothered anymore, not having to be spiked. Even though these weren't things I really wanted, they kind of spiked my dopamine a little bit. And now that those things are gone, there's this, what I call this plateauing, dopamine plateauing, right? I'm so used to having these like spikes, you know, at the end of the day, I'm like, I've just been having my dopamine just been doing this. I need a good spike of dopamine. I need a good bounce. And when you don't have that, you have to get used to just it leveling out. It just kind of being even. And the other things I've done that I found that I feel kind of are in the same realm is just infinite scrolling on my phone. But not just my phone, on the computer too. So YouTube, Instagram, they've all been designed to let you just, there's no bottom. Like in the beginning of Facebook, it used to say, you know, you've checked everything, you're done. And then you're like, okay, cool, well, I finished this stupid thing, going about my life. But now they don't end, you know, like it's just an infinite pool of information, you know. And the thing is, like, half the things you're looking at, they're stupid. You don't even want to look at them, right? And they're like even mildly entertaining. But you keep looking at them and you keep hoping you're going to hit something that's either really funny or really awesome, and you get to share it and it spikes your dopamine again, right? So these things are geared to give you that thing that you're chasing. And it's another mechanism, it's another thing that allows you to ignore all the things that are really important, that are really going to make you feel better. I forget what it was, but they said, like, you know, drugs and alcohol, they make you feel like you accomplished something without doing anything. And I feel like the apps are the same way. Like all this phone time and everything is the same way. So I'm going to get back to the ayahuasca, but the one thing that I think, the couple things that I've done that have really helped me is for instance, YouTube is such a big part of it. I can't just block YouTube, right? But there's a tool called Rabbit Hole. It's an add-on that you can put on a browser. And Rabbit Hole basically turns YouTube into just a browser. It's almost just like, it's just like a Google search bar. There's no suggested videos. There's no homepage. There's no nothing. The only thing you can do is use it. You can get a link. You can watch something, but it doesn't really. It doesn't have the venom, you know, that instant suggestion that can just get you lost in a rabbit hole forever. So that's been pretty big because I just can't block it. There's also this service called Cold Turkey, which will allow you to block certain apps at certain time. There's even one, so like I do a lot of writing. I've been doing my own writing for my own purposes, for a blog, and then I also try to write scripts for my videos that I'm going to do. And sometimes you just need to remove all distractions. Cold Turkey has one called Cold Turkey Writer, and what it does, you can set a timer, like I always say this word wrong, Pomodoro. It means tomato in Italian. I forget the word, but Pomodoro. I don't know, maybe I said it right. But basically it gives you can actually set it where it will lock you out of your entire computer for whatever time you want, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and then it'll give you a break for 15. But it turns your whole computer into a typewriter. You can't do anything other than type. And when you get done, it saves it as a text file and you can save it. And so it just cuts out all those distractions. There's also another one on my phone. I don't want to tab out of my live. I may post it in the comments, I guess, when I post the replay. But there's an app, it's called something Zen. And that one will, it only lets you open certain apps like Instagram or any social media. It only lets you open those apps if you wait like 10 seconds or 5 seconds. And in some cases, it actually, if you've done it enough, it actually has you breathe in and hold and let go. And it takes you through this like kind of like almost meditative kind of thing. And then it'll let you in. And then once you're in, after you've been in for about 5 minutes, it'll close it again and make you open it and wait again. So it kind of breaks that cycle of that scrolling. So these I've found have been super impactful in my productivity and my motivation, and just kind of giving me a better awareness about what it is I'm doing and what I'm navigating through my life when it comes to trying to remove the things that don't serve me, the things that that I'm just reaching for impulsively, right? Without even thinking about why or how. So it's been great to have these things, and I really recommend it for anybody who wants to try to break these cycles that they have, and just be a little bit more familiar with our relationship to these things, because they are being designed to make us miss those dopamine spikes and fill that gap. So this dry January has really kind of facilitated this dopamine detox, and has really kind of then accepting the return to Aya. I got called back to the ayahuasca, and then recognizing I was going to be doing that like at the end of this, and that I was going to have to do this prep. Doing all that made me realize, oh wow, there's a theme kind of here going. There's this whole connected theme of this dopamine detox, and it's been interesting because it again has built that relationship with me, kind of seeing why I enjoy things, why things don't bore me. Because I've always been the person who I've always been the geeky kid who can really geek out on something really technical and really complex. And I can do that for hours. And it's like, this would bore most people. Like even me talking about it would bore people. Well, why doesn't it bore me? Why can I really be that interested in it? And honestly, it's something productive that's doing some sort of spike of dopamine. It may not be these large, really huge spikes, but they're big enough to the point where I think it's rewarding me naturally in a way that makes more sense. So I'm trying to be more active and spend my day finding those sources, trying to find those avenues that are really going to provide me with a better, healthier bump of dopamine. And everything aligns with that, and everything aligns kind of with where I'm going with this ayahuasca ceremony in the next 5 days. Next 5 days, yeah. So I felt that this would be a great topic for YouTube Live, because I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, and I think that there are a lot of people. I think that a lot of the issues that people are having at the end of the day relate to the fact that we are flooding ourselves constantly with so much dopamine, largely because of our phones, with a slight little bit of socially accepted drinking, and doing this all the time has got us feeling bad. It's pretty simple. It's got us feeling bad. And it's also got us kind of hooked, because if we stop doing these things, we still feel bad. Like you would think breaking yourself of something toxic and healthy would be good, but it's not. It takes time before you can really kind of come to the benefit of what your life is like positively once those things are gone. It leaves a vacuum that has to be filled with something. And if you're not careful and deliberate, you'll fill it with something else. For me, through this whole process, I've been filling it with snacks. I've found little packages of cookies, and I'll even drink more milk, because it's really sweet and it's really satisfying, instead of drinking things that I need to be drinking, like water and other things, even like zero soda, right? Like Coca-Cola Zero. So all those things, no more things, those things are out after February. I'm really going to be addressing any of these crutches that may be sneaking in, that didn't fall into old parameters or specifics. I'm going to be a little stricter with those and remove those as well moving forward into February, because of the fact that I'm trying to adhere to this ayahuasca prep. And I do feel that once I'm there at that ceremony doing the ayahuasca, none of this is going to matter anyway, and it'll be a good reset. So to go back into it, I talked a little bit about the ayahuasca prep. I would assume most people probably know what ayahuasca is, but I'll give a little bit of talk about it just to overview it, in case somebody's watching the replay and they want to know a little bit more. But I would assume that for the most part, you probably know what it is. It's this root plant. It's a mixture of other plants that are in the Amazon, but they make it into a brew. And so what you drink in ceremony is basically this mushy kind of like almost like imagine like I don't know if you've ever had a Turkish coffee, but it's like a coffee, but it's really gritty. It's like they get so much of the grains in there, but has really a bad flavor, really bad taste. One of the things that I've heard people say, and I feel like I attest to this, is that every time you drink, it tastes worse. The more you do it, the worse it gets. But it is a psychedelic, so it produces an effect because the main ingredient that it does produces is DMT. And DMT is a compound in our brains that we produce naturally that kind of accompanies us when we sleep. It's called the dream molecule. It produces a lot of dream things, and then there's probably a bunch of other things about it that I've missed. But you take this this mixture and you drink it in the ceremony, and it takes about an hour before this kicks in. And once it does, it affects people in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons, depending on just where you're at. And in some cases, it doesn't do anything. I've been at ceremonies where people have taken it 2-3 nights in a row, and they had no effect at all from the ayahuasca. And it's probably anybody's guess. Anybody's guess is as good as anyone else's. But a lot of people theorize that the reason why that happens is that people may come in with certain ideas or expectations or beliefs or, a lot of shit. And if you come in with that and it pushes, you can actually push away a lot of this transformation that can happen. You push away a little bit of this change that can come into the process because it's almost like you're fighting it. And if you fight it, Aya will not show. But if you are more open to it and you do feel the effects of it, it can be a lot of different things. Some people will actually have a bad time. They'll be in a place that's really dark. They'll bring up a lot of trauma. They will kind of struggle with the experience, and they can leave it feeling pretty like, wow, that was really fucked up. Like, I'm really glad I did that. Like, even after the end of the ceremony, they'll be like, I'm really glad I did that, but I hope I never do it again. Right? And then there's some people like me where when I first did it, I had a very bubbly, very happy, very childlike, kind of giggly experience. But that it was also accompanied by very intense bouts of crying, a lot of catharsis, and just screaming, and then being angry, and then being sad again. And then at one point I was laughing, and then I was crying, and then I was laughing again and crying again. And then at some point I didn't even know if I was laughing or crying. I was just kind of mixed with just so many different emotions. It was almost like I was creating this symphony of different emotions for the first time in my life. But one thing that I know for sure, and also while you're feeling all these things, you're also accompanied by very vivid hallucinations. They're, closed-eyed. They're a lot of shapes and different things, very similar to like mushrooms or LSD or any kind of psychoactives. If you've ever done those things, it's very, very similar kind of visually. But what's different is that it's not just this visual thing. There's this, it's almost like the theater is playing on a movie for you, but then you're feeling these different emotional things related to it. And that gets profoundly, has some profound variance into how that experience kind of connects with it. But over time, you really feel that there is this being with you. And that's why they'll refer to ayahuasca as it's this feminine energy, this very intense feminine energy. And they call it the grandmother. And you really do, I really feel like I relate to that notion of it being this grandmother, because one, you feel kind of nurtured, you feel protected, you feel like she doesn't let go, like she's always there. And then also one thing that's really incredible is that over time she'll actually speak to you, and you can actually ask her questions. You can ask her for guidance. You can ask for insight, and she'll actually speak to you. She'll actually give you information. She'll give you teachings. She'll give you these offerings, these sincere whispers, and it's like vivid, like somebody's actually like talking to you. And over time, you'll get into this point where these visions or these moments, they're so rapid. Like it's like you'll have this profound explanation of something, and it's just like, oh my God, wow, that's incredible. Like I get this now. And it's almost like you want to write it down or record it somewhere. And before you can, you get this other idea, and you're like, oh wow, that's good too. Oh, I want to write this down too. And before you can even like comprehend getting a notebook or getting a pen or getting something, you're already past it. And it's like 15 different ideas, other ideas have come. So you get to a point where you kind of have to surrender, and you just be like, okay, I'm going to have my mind blown as many times as possible while I sit here, and we're just going to deal with it. And what's funny is for months, years after that, the 2 ceremonies I went to, even years after that, there's moments where something happens in my life, or some kind of thing, or something somebody says to me, or just different things where I'm like, you know what, this was something that came up in the ceremony. This was something that connected to that. And it's kind of this amazing universal magic, I guess is the best way I can explain it, that kind of connects you to that and brings you into that reality. So there's more to it than that. This is kind of like the best way that I can summarize what the benefits of an ayahuasca ceremony are in terms of in the mind, right? If you were to witness, if I were to open a door right here and walk in and be like, there's an ayahuasca ceremony going in here, and you were just to walk in there, it's hard to even begin to tell you how awkward of a situation you'd be walking into, because when you drink this ayahuasca, this plant, it makes you very nauseous. Over time, there's this process of purging, and you carry a bucket with you everywhere you go, and everybody is puking into their bucket, right? Because they're constantly getting sick from whatever they're purging up. And this is part of the reason why it's so important to have the prep, and to you go into it. You're actually fasted when you go into it. You haven't eaten in a while, and what you're purging is partly the ayahuasca, but with it comes all of the other bad energy and negative gunk and all this stuff that doesn't serve you anymore is what you're expelling. You're purging all of that negativity and all these bad things that you just need to get rid of. And part of the reason why you went to the ceremony was to surrender a lot of those things, because they've been around for so long that part of the reason why this medicine is so powerful is because you're finally getting to surrender those things to clear space within yourself so that you have a foundation to build upon all of the new changes that you want in your life and all of the new things that you want to bring into growing into a better version of yourself. And the people who maybe have a negative experience, like I mentioned, could be in a variety of states where the work they're needing to navigate in the mind, these trips that they need to go on the mind, are maybe a little bit more, they're a little bit more philosophical, they're more theoretical or metaphorical, right? And so they may be having to go on this journey. You can look at somebody and actually see them struggling, like it seems like they're uncomfortable, like they're maybe not so much in pain, but it looks like they're not having a good time. And you kind of feel for them, you want to hold space for them, but you kind of regret that they're having such a bad time. And when you talk to them the next day, the next morning or whatever after the ceremony, and you're like, I was worried, you seemed like you were in a really bad place. Like, oh no, it was great. I I was having a great time. And it was funny because I think that when they look back on it, it was a positive experience because they got answers, they got some solutions. But the body was still in a state of, not really communicating that, because we weren't in the state of like trying to display our happiness and our joy and our peace, right? We were doing a lot of unique work on the inside, and that was being perceived in different ways, right? So it's hard to kind of sum up what this journey you go through in ayahuasca, because it means so many things to so many different people. And another thing is that you don't just do one ceremony and drink once. You'll drink once to begin the ceremony. Like I said, that takes about an hour, but it's an open bar. You can come up and drink another cup of ayahuasca as much as you want, and they encourage you to do it as much as you want. And that's in one ceremony. Like I said, in 5 days, we're going to do 4 to 5 ceremonies. So what they do is they'll do one ceremony. It takes about 4 to 5 hours and maybe a good 6 hours from start to finish, because you go up and drink, and then after 2 or 3 hours, you come back and you drink more. And then you may even go drink a third time if you want, if it allows, if they don't run out. And then you finish that ceremony, you come down, you rest, and they start another ceremony within 12 hours. So within 2 days, you will have done 4 ceremonies straight, nonstop. I mean, you could always choose to sit out one if you wanted, but that's kind of how that experience is. It's back-to-back ceremonies where you're drinking, you're going up, drinking more, going up, and then you kind of come down, rest, kind of return to normal, but you're still there. You're still in that I am mine, right? And then you start another ceremony. You go back into it, and you go again. So it's this cycle, it's this process, it's this persistent revisiting the medicine and revisiting the process. And there's other things. So I wish I had it up. Maybe see if I can find it. I really want to give a shout out to this community that I'm going to. I forget how to say it. La Ceiba. Ceiba. It doesn't translate. It's just a plant. It's called La Ceiba. Ceiba. Ayahuasca Center. Here. I'm going to post this in the chat in a second, because they just have a Facebook. But the music they do, everything, it's so beautiful. It's such an amazing experience. And it's not just ayahuasca. So there's other medicines, there are plant medicines that they work with, that they introduce you to throughout the process in the beginning. One is mambe, which is a cooked tobacco that you put on your tongue. And then a coca powder, which is coca leaves, but they're refined. They're not that refined. They're not that synthesized. It's a little bit more tame and a little bit more mild of a refinement. And it's a powder, though. It's like this brown powder. And you put it in your lip. And it helps to loosen the voice and the tongue. So that way you can speak your truth. And it's really something they do and partake after the ceremony to help people kind of have a integration, to integrate back into the real world after we've done this, and be able to talk about the things we've seen and the things that we've done, and to just have this kind of moment where we can really speak our truths and have that be kind of part of this therapy, part of this growth and this experience. So let's see, do they have any? I got a few pictures of them. I think the Instagram is better because they have more music and stuff. So the other, let's see, what other medicines they have? So they also have nettling, something I hadn't seen at other places, but nettling was, there's this plant, I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere. I see it all around South America, and especially in Colombia. It's this plant, has these really long stalks, and they have these huge needles on them, like bigger than like a rosewood. And so they prune that down a little bit, and they cut them, and they take this stick and they kind of tap you all over your body, all over your back, top of your head, all around your back, neck, down the front, down the unders of your arms, on your feet, your legs. And it's supposed to bring all the blood out, and it leaves these little whelps. And they don't stay there for very long, but they come up, and it's kind of weird, but kind of cool at the same time. And So they do that, and so yeah, the Instagram has a little bit more. There's more music and stuff in here, and they even show some videos of the nettling. I'm pretty sure most of the nettling is when they have the harmonica out, because there's even like, if you go routinely, you'll notice that they do the same songs, different ceremonies, and so there's been times where I've gone back to a ceremony and I don't know what the song is, but there's just certain songs they play. I'm like, "Ah, I love this song in the harmonica." Every time I hear this song, it just puts me in this amazing state. It puts me in this amazing place, and it just puts you in tune with Mother Aya. So let's see. So there's nettling, then there's rapé. So I'm posting La Ceiba. That's the Instagram for them. So then there's the rapé, which is a tobacco kind of herbal powder. It's a very fine powder, and they use this little tool and they blow it up your nose, and it is very wild. And when you first done it, it's really disorienting, and it can feel like you have a hard time breathing. If you breathe wrong while you're doing it, it's weird. And then it doesn't matter where you're at, how much you dislike it or do like it, they have to do the other nostril. And when they do that, it can be intimidating because you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I can barely breathe, right? But it opens up the mind, it opens up the brain. It kind of has like all this, like, it almost feels like it's kind of on fire, but in a good way. And it's really good for like before, during. I've been at some points where I was on the Aya like so intensely, and they gave me another cup. The shaman gave me another cup, and the shaman's constantly like assessing your energy and trying to read you and trying to understand where you're at. And he had me drink one of these huge cups because I guess he felt like I was at a place where I could keep going. He gave me this huge cup, and then he offered me the rapé. But I'd only done it once, and it was really hard for me in that session. I was like, I just don't know if I can take going through that right now. So I turned it down. But they'll even do it during the ceremony. Let's see, Gloria asks, what do you recommend for those who haven't done this ritual yet but would like to try it? If you would like to try it, it's the way I explain it is if you're ready to try it, you're still not ready. People don't want to do ayahuasca because they say they're not ready for it. And they're like, I'm not ready for it, I don't want to do it. And it's like, okay. But once you are ready for it, you're still not ready for it. Because the experience is pretty wild, and nothing can prepare you for what it is and what you're going to go through. There's no level, like you can read a lot about it and everything, but nothing can prepare you for it. So if you would want to do it, I would say do research, learn about it, learn about kind of other people that have talked about it, what they've done. Be ready, come into it with an open mind, be ready to surrender to this process that's very bigger than us. It's going to take us to some other kind of place. It's almost kind of like alien in a way, So if you're ready for something that's going to be extreme, that's going to teach you a lot about yourself and also challenge you, and you have that attitude where you're like, you know what, I want to do the skydive, I want to do the paragliding, I want to challenge myself to something that I may not be comfortable with, but I know if I'm willing to kind of show up and take the adventure, I know that I'm going to learn something new, and I'm going to have something that's going to last my entire life, that I'm always going to have. If you're ready for something like that, then you will really benefit from it, and you're probably going to find other people that are also in that same state when you go. And again, like even if you do meet people and you make friends, or if you go with a friend, none of that really matters, because once you're there and you're in the ceremony, it is still your adventure. It's all by yourself, and there's not going to be anybody that can really, there's going to be people to facilitate, that maybe help navigate through questions you have and everything, that are really compassionate, that are going to help you through it. But a lot of the things you're going to be going through, they're going to be going through yourself. But the amount of growth and tools that accommodates are amazing, just absolutely amazing. I can guarantee you that you will definitely change. Even if at the end of it, you're like, I never want to do that again, you will still be glad that you went through it and that you had it and you had that experience. So let's see. I talked about a bunch of the different medicines that there are. The only other one that I'll mention, I haven't seen this come through, but I've heard a lot of people say they like it, and I forget what it's called. But there's this type of eye drops. I mean, it was like this vial of eye drops. And I saw them using it, these shamans using it, and they were just using it. And they were just acting like it was nothing. And I like eye drops. My eyes dry out a lot. And so I like to use eye drops, artificial tears specifically. And I was like, oh, I'd like some eye drops. Can I use that? And they're like, oh, wait, you don't know what this is. And I was like, I mean, what is it? And so they explained to me that it's this exotic root or a variety of roots, and they, extract the root, and the drops, they're really, what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to help you open, kind of like how the mambe opens up the mouth and opens up the tongue and opens up the ability to speak your truth. The drops are supposed to help open up the vision, open up kind of like maybe not the chakra, but open up your vision and open up your perspective. And they're typically done before the ayahuasca ceremony. The problem is if you've never done them before, you're not used to them, it burns. They burn really, 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 really bad. And they burn so bad that what they do is they put like a drop here on the bridge, and they put a drop here with your eyes closed. So the minister does it. And then what he does is he opens your eyes for you at the same time. So that way they go in at the same time, because they don't want to do one-on-one, because as soon as they go in, they cover your whole eye, and you won't lose them, they won't come out. So, but it burns a lot. And it's the worst minute and a half that you can imagine. But then once it stops, it is amazing how good it feels and how clear things are, and just your, not so much specifically your vision, but just the perspective, like your mental vision is just so clear and pure. And doing it right before you go into the Aya is pretty incredible. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm not looking forward to it, but I'd be willing to try it if it came up again at the next ceremony. Typically when it comes to these kinds of things, and to kind of answer, to kind of, come back to Gloria's question, is that when you would want to try something or you're curious about things, you shouldn't be, the reservations about it that say that it's a bad idea, unless it's like something stupid, like, I don't know, jumping off a bridge with just like a rope, like a vine or something. I know there's places you can do that, but like, if there's people that are a professional or experienced in something and they are using it with respect and intent, I feel that you should, and you're willing to at least participate with that community, those are the places to go try these things, and those are the places that you're going to get to really understand the true benefit of it. But it's going to come at a cost of conflicting and fighting your own self, and having a lot of these resistance and battles that you have. But those battles and the times of when people navigate that, it's different for everybody. So it still comes down kind of to your own preference of when that's important. So that's kind of ayahuasca. There's I'm really excited about coming through this. It'll be my third ceremony to go through. Once I come out of this, the thing that I'm so excited about is that every time I've done ayahuasca in the past, it has, and if anybody comes through, I know I only have a few people coming through, but if anybody comes through and wants to ask questions, please drop them in the comments, because I really want to talk about this in ways that resonates with people. But when I've gone to the ceremonies in the past, I've always kind of come at it at a point in my life where I had a lot of questions, and I really wanted to understand more about what I was doing and where I was going, and what the meaning of everything is, and and all these deeper questions. And what has happened is I've gotten a lot of knowledge. I got a lot of confirmations. I would get a lot of downloads and information from the experience. But sometimes I would get the answers I would get would give me more questions than answers. And so it'd be something where it felt like I was almost not ready for all the answers, but it would pepper me with a lot of like things that I needed to look at or investigate or explore, or give me kind of leads to get me started in the direction that I needed to go. And what's been interesting about that is I feel that now where I'm at with my coaching, with my with just my practice and everything that I'm doing right now, I feel that the reason why I'm at where I am now is because of some of the revelations and the knowledge and all these things that were undiscovered from previous ceremonies. I think so much of that stuff has come up and guided me to where I'm at now. And so now where I'm at is following a lot. I don't feel like I'm totally there yet, but I'm more in line with my purpose. I'm more in line with my passions. I'm more in line with myself. I'm more in line with my relationships of where I want to be, who I want to be, this new identity. I'm still struggling to shed my old identity, but I'm more in line with it than I've ever been. And I feel that going to the ceremony now with a different type of intent and a different type of motivation, I'm super excited about how, especially like, the detoxing with the phone and all these different things. I'm super excited that this is going to really be a big catalyst to having an even more profound experience through the ceremony, because the clients I have right now and the people I'm working with right now have been so amazing. There's been so many breakthroughs and just moments of revelation for a lot of people with what's going on in their lives, and a lot of that is reflected back into my own life to teach me about these new breakthroughs that I'm having in the way that I show up for people and the way that I take care of myself. And it's been such a incredible experience so far. I can't wait to come back from this experience, because I know that is going to have an even more profound kind of unfolding of new modalities, of new ways that I kind of have this clarity and the way that I can show up. And I feel like when I would come back from ceremony in the past, I still wasn't really surrounded by, I mean, I had good people that meant well, but I was still surrounded by people that weren't on the same adventure. They were, still, they were still kind of going through life the way they were, and it pulled me into old habits. It didn't really give me the opportunity to embody what I'd learned and what I was trying to do. And this time, I feel like it's going to be different. I feel like I'm already kind of in tune with that. I feel like I'm already gotten myself a lot of the base work done, and I've basically set a stage. I've set this stage that I know once I go through this process and I go through this repurging, because even if you go through the ayahuasca and you do everything right, you move forward in your life, you're still going to accumulate some bullshit along the way, right? Because none of us are perfect, and none of us ever will be. So, but it gets you to a point where it gets you to this really great reset, where you can at least be to a point where you feel you feel so positioned for you feel yourself in a position of being able to stack so many new ideas, so many new goals you get to rebuild and rebrand this purpose in yourself that is gonna propel you into the next stages of whatever you do. And a lot of people that go into ayahuasca, when they come back, that first 2 weeks, they're buzzing. You know, somebody may have a big revelation. I met one guy before I ever did ayahuasca. When he came back, he was so excited. He's like, "Oh my God, ayahuasca, amazing, man." He's like, I'm gonna teach people how to talk." I was like, "Okay." I was like, I don't get it. I don't like, what do you mean? He's like, "Well, you know how people have a hard time talking with each other? I'm gonna find a way, and we're gonna make this thing where they actually can talk about the things that they want to." And it wasn't like, I'm kind of maybe making it sound silly, but he was just, the point is that he was so excited about this idea. And, you know, a month later, I don't think he was really talking about this idea anymore. I think he kind of maybe figured out that the intent and the purity of the idea he had was definitely within his mind, but it wasn't something probably tangible that made it into something that was actually going to work. And so I feel like a lot of people kind of leave these ayahuasca ceremonies with kind of maybe grandiose, bigger pictures, like rose-colored glasses kind of thing. And it doesn't really have anything. It has the potential to lack something actionable. As to where I'm at now, I really do feel like I've built this platform with my coaching. It's, it's very much in its infancy. I'm still trying to take on more clients. I still have plenty of seats full in my program that I want to do. And I know that the place I'm coming from right now is great. However, I feel like if I enter into this ayahuasca now with more of an intent of how can I better serve people, how can I better show up, how can I be a better friend, how can I be a better coach, how can I be a better partner, how can I be a better, you know, everything. It's gonna show me answers to those questions in different ways. And also, there's been times where you get really deep into the eye, you can actually, again, you can ask her questions and you will get answers. And sometimes you get into that, the things that I was trying to solve were just whatever I was dealing with at the time. They don't feel as important then, you know, like I was trying to understand, like, how would I ever make, would I ever make a certain amount of money? Do I need to like kind of learn this in my business? Like when I was doing tech, should I learn more of this type of technology? Should I learn this more much technology? Should I do this? You know, should I do my own business? And you get something like, you should do your own business. Oh, okay, so none of this matters. But what should I do for business? Well, you got to figure that out. So you may get really good answers, but there's not as much to go to. Whereas now I feel that I have a lot of things settled. And I just feel like the questions I'm going to ask and the things that I want to know are just a lot more tangible. They're a lot more measurable, right? So I think I'm kind of like I think I've kind of made my point about, I guess, the Aya and the relation to how this is going to help my coaching. I really want to see I want to make sure that I also am not coming at this from the concept of putting too much of expectation or having too much of a need for certain things to happen. Because I am kind of excited at where I'm at and how I'm following kind of more of a passion. But what I want is to ensure that, you know, I'm aligned with the right thing, or maybe I need to focus this in another capacity. I don't know. But I have all these ideas and the structure, and I really want to kind of have some sort of confirmation or some kind of agreement around is this gonna, how is this going to provide value? And is this the best way to provide value? So anyway, I guess I'm kind of rambling about this. I do have a few seats left in my coaching. I really, this whole weekend I'm working. I'm leaving on Monday evening, but I am going to be working all weekend. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, we can do a free 30-minute discovery call on the phone. I'd really like to talk to you kind of about what you intend to create in your life, what it is that you're trying to do, where your passions are, where you really kind of see your vision of what you want to grow into the future. I really want to be able to help people accomplish that and get that focus, that crystal clear focus on how we can make a roadmap to get you to that point. And I'm available for 12 weeks, 24 weeks to do that. I'm going to put a link here. This is going to be a link to my my coaching form where you can fill this out. And once I get this, I'll see if it makes sense for us to actually have a call to make sure it seems like a good fit for you. And then we'll have a call and see if we can book a time this week where we can start having these calls every week. And also, if anybody else has, actually, I don't think on the replay you can see these. I'm going to put it in the comments after the replay. But I also have I took a bunch of books that I've read over the past 10 years that have been super influential to helping me with my growth and direction that I've been going on. I'm going to include a link for those in the description for the replay. So if you want to sign up to my newsletter for free, I send out little notifications about videos I'm doing or ideas that I've expanded on. I sent out an invitation for this live and just kind of things that I'm seeing that come up. So if you sign up for that, you'll get the PDF with, I think it's about 21 books that have been super influential to me. And joining that newsletter is super supportive to me. But I'm going to actually close it out here. I've really appreciated everybody that's been on, all the comments that I've had. And I hope you catch this on the replay if you missed out. But my goal is to do these every Wednesday. Next Wednesday, I won't be doing it because I'll be drinking ayahuasca. But coming throughout the rest of the month of February, I hope to have these up every Wednesday, maybe not 7 o'clock, but we'll see. This time maybe works. But again, I appreciate everybody. Please check out my YouTube, like, share all my videos because you're awesome. And again, thank you so much. I really look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.